Salam salam and welcome to another episode of Magic Moments by Opakbox. It's again me speaking, Miriam, and we're again in another English-speaking version because as well, my guest today, he's not English-speaking, but he's not German-speaking as well. So we're doing this episode in English. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Raja.
So for this episode, we traveled all the way to Addis and we're sitting in the office of Daniel, the founder and owner of Swift Technology in Ethiopia. I got to know Daniel pretty long time ago, I have the feeling. Yes, 5 years if I'm not mistaken. We met through a project, we were participating. Daniel was still a student by this time. I was a coordinator of the project where we matched students with a business background from Switzerland, from different schools, with a rather technical university in Ethiopia. And Daniel was one of the students handing in a project for this so-called Young Entrepreneur Exchange Project Week, where the students were working for 1 week together to bring the business ideas of the Ethiopian students closer to realization. That was the moment we met. And ever since we were in touch, and the reason I think Daniel is a really interesting person and interesting guest for this podcast here is because he always have a completely different way of seeing the world. Because we could say even like, yeah, you're sitting in a different corner of the world than we do in Switzerland. And I love to hear your point of views when we talk at the phone, and we talk a lot on the phone. And it always contains a lot of learnings for me and eye-openers, how else I can see the world with a different perspective and not only from my Swiss perspective. I think that's reason enough to have you as a guest here to share your point of views with the audience in Switzerland and hopefully with audience here in Ethiopia, maybe students from your university or other universities, to have a look how entrepreneurship in Ethiopia can look like. So that's it from my side. Daniel is going to introduce himself later on, and as usual, we're starting with the question of the magic moment. So Daniel, please, would you like to share with me one of your magic moments since the fiscal year started in Ethiopia?
Yes, thank you for having me. It was nice to welcome you here. So, I'm Daniel Abera. I'm founder and CEO of Swift Technologies PLC. We have different products. We are a software development company. So, to answer your question, you have been asking me of my magic moment. So, I'll say like you were also mentioning the fiscal year that I was mentioning last time. So, yeah, it's like Ethiopia has a lot of different things from the world. So, like we have our own calendar, which is 7 years behind. It's called 7 years behind. So, and even our fiscal year is different from our main calendar, which is 2 months behind. So, our new year is in September. So, our fiscal year ends in June. So, June 30 in the Ethiopian calendar, which is July 7th. So, every July, the fiscal year starts, and every June, the fiscal year ends. And our new year starts in September and ends in August. So it's different. We have a lot of different things to mention.
And we're having now, the moment we're recording the podcast, it's July, so the fiscal year just started.
So the fiscal year just ended and we started another one. So we're like very hopeful the coming one, but the one that passed was a very hard one because we have introduced a lot of change in the economy, the Ethiopian economy in general. Our currency was floated and it was affecting a lot of business, even individuals. So it was very hard for us, kind of different from the past fiscal years, but we managed to come here and thank God for that.
And that's magical enough, I think. And I'm always impressed. And that's another reason why I think it's interesting to have you here, how you're managing your business with such an unstable currency. And I think that's something Swiss people or European people have interest in to learn how you're doing in such a way doing business. All right. So thanks for sharing this magic moment, which I think is pretty amazing. It's your turn. Who is Daniel? Tell me more about Daniel. What is Swift Technologies doing? Which products do you sell? And since when does your company exist? When did you found it?
Yeah, I'm Daniel Abera, as I mentioned earlier. So I founded this company with my partner Andualam Mosef. He has been studying with me back in the university about 7 years ago. We had several projects working together. We also had a partnership. One of our teachers who were also very helpful in advising us and guiding us in certain ways. He was also teaching us some technical things regarding technology. So that was our starting point. That's how we get closer, and we grew that into a small business. Like, we started from what we had, so we just saw a problem. One of the problems we saw was students used to struggle, especially seasons of when they were to take exams. They used to struggle managing their time, so we thought of a solution. What if we brought them from their favorite restaurant with a cheap delivery fee? So we started from that. It was a very good one. It helped us generate, we were very lucky to be successful from our first venture. We couldn't scale it. It was very hard. So at the university, it was very hard for us to scale it, but it was a good like validating moment that with each other, we were good for each other. We could build something bigger. So we had to come to Addis. So like we kind of did a feasibility study back in 2020. So it was
COVID time? Yeah.
it was very hard to do that. We had to move around, and everybody was in their house. They were not moving. We couldn't get enough data, but we were kind of collecting data from different brochures, posters, and others to be able to find a service. We were planning to launch a service matching platform. So like a home service matching platform. So it was not as easy as we thought back then, but we started it. We kind of validated it using the feasibility study we did. It was very hard to scale. We managed to acquire some clients, and now we didn't pivoted, but it's not growing as we aspired it to grow. And we had to, and the COVID was not easy for us. And after that, another catastrophe have happened. Like, there was a civil war here in Ethiopia, which affected a lot of businesses, including us. So we had to be flexible. We were not generating enough revenue to keep us afloat. So we had to find other ways to generate revenue to keep our workers get paid. So we had to find other ways to make money, like not just individually, but without necessarily closing our business. So we kind of started from quite our business was not scaling, and we came up with the core problem was the less adoption and the less interest of Ethiopians to download apps. So when we see that, when we understand that problem and it's affecting a lot of business, we have to come up with other solutions. So that was a Telegram development. So we came up with, everybody has a Telegram, the only thing they need to do was to just reach out to us via that bot, and it solved our main problem, which was to connect with our customers to be able to order services from us. And we thought of, we didn't stop there. We thought of how we can scale this, how we can make other business use this technology as well, because building an app is not an easy thing. It costs a lot, and also after you build, the customers are not willing to download.
And that's where I'm really amazed again and again to follow how you're doing, because there were so many issues coming up within these last 5 years. Many other people, I'm convinced they would have said, no, that's enough. I'm fed up now. And I think that's one of your strengths as well. Whatever came up, civil war, unstable currency, however it was, you just said no, there is a potential solution, or there are potential problems to solve within these situations, and you went for it. But maybe to come back to what you're doing before looking back, for our audience, maybe share again, what were your studies, the subject you were studying, because I think we didn't mention this yet. And then to come back, just what are you doing today, before we go back with the history, just to share what is Swift Technology today?
Yeah, so me and my partner studying mechanical engineering back in the university. So we both had kind of close interest in that sector. When it comes to our business interests, we had to learn the hardware. We had the idea, but in order to implement it, we needed software developers. So when we approached software developers, we have the idea and help us develop it. They were asking us money. They were just thinking, they were not willing to partner with us. So I had to learn development self-taught. I called myself a self-taught developer. So I started from that. We started, he was helping with the marketing. Most of the marketing and other things were being managed by my partner. He was also managing the operations. I was managing most of the technical things back then. And I also studied business management as well. So that helped me see things differently. And I don't want to be a victim of anything. I don't want to consider myself a victim of something. Like there is a war. Yes, like it's affecting a lot of people. I might be affected by it, but I cannot stop there just being telling others it's because of that. I cannot just blame everything around for not being able to act on something. So
And this I can really be the proof of your never I experienced you in a mood of being a victim. You're just anytime we had a conversation, solution oriented. Whatever is coming up, you had a solution for it. So just to come back to the point, Swift Technologies, what are you doing today?
yeah, now a lot of business are approaching us to get such a platform. And we didn't stop there. Like even if there are a lot of software developers in the mobile application development and website development, we have also expanded to like we have a team of 6 senior and junior developers. They are good at like we also nurture from the internship stage. Now we have a strong team of developers who build state-of-the-art technologies in system development and also software development. So now we are expanding to other markets as well.
Maybe let's stick first to Ethiopian market. Let's assume I'm a potential Ethiopian customer, in which case it would make sense that I reach out to Swift Technologies. Can you give some examples?
There are a lot, for example, like where most of the problems arise from digitizing, automating, and other things, right? Most of the things here in Ethiopia are done traditionally, like manually, most of the things. And now they are understanding, in order not to fall behind, people are understanding they should start automating things. They should start using like ERPs, like enterprise resource management solutions.
And is there kind of a local product you could mention as another example? You develop your own products as well to give a deeper insight to people further away from technical development of software products, that they kind of get a feeling in which use case they could approach you?
Sure, like just to mention some projects, like we have in-house projects like that we build. Just to mention one, Leak is one of our flagship products. It is an edtech platform, educational technology platform. Like we have been mainly focusing on like tutor matching, home tutor matching. Now we are expanding to the online education technology as well. We have a lot of stakeholders involved in this project as well. So Mastercard Foundation and others, a lot of stakeholders are involved. We are partnering with different institutions like universities and schools, private and public schools in Ethiopia, mainly focusing on Addis Ababa. We're expanding. It's one of our flagship products, and also to mention some of like the projects that we build for third-party companies. So there is a platform called Influence Hub. There is a platform called One Now Sport. Like they are a manufacturer of like sportwears, or like they manufacture pretty much a lot of sportwears, and like they wanted a system to be manage their orders from their clients and also manage it like for the manufacturing part as well. So we built a tailored custom software solution for them. So a lot of influencers are in this platform selling their own content, like content creation, career development, and other services.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And as far as I'm aware, recently you started to collaborate as well overseas, and you had a collaboration with a software developer based in Switzerland. Is there anything you could share which might be interesting as well for a potential customer in Switzerland?
Yeah. So like before I go there, so we have been trying to catch this market, like to have a big market share, possible bigger market share in Ethiopia, but it's not always the right approach. So when we wanted to like try other markets like neighboring countries like Kenya and others, we understood that the demand and the supply in most of the countries we were planning were not fit. So we might plan to like expand to Kenya, but Kenya already has a lot of service providers like us. So we need to have another unique selling point that we are preferred than the Kenyans, and we happen we happen to have not much of those unique selling points. They had a lot of unique selling points. That's their market. They understand it better than us. It was not easy for us to expand to such markets. We thought of other markets, and we were reached out. One of my mentors endorsed us to one of us like a US startup who gave us this project, and it gave us the understanding of the standardization and other things of like the US market, and we try to build on that. We are in a good stage now. Like we kind of have different like small scale projects. We took small scale projects from the US. Now we are kind of growing into kind of outsourcing, not just like project based. Like in they can even outsource developers from us. We, as you were also mentioning in your question, we have also expanded to the European market. I wouldn't say it like a kind of expanded because like that's an ongoing progress, like journey after this. That's the plan we are going forward. But like the one you mentioned, like the Swiss client, that was a very good learning curve for us. We thought of how we could approach the European market, what they are looking for. We have been trying to reach out to some clients, potential clients.
Is there any use case to share with the potential Swiss audience like we did before for the Ethiopian market? Assuming I'm now the Swiss client, in which use case would you suggest that I could reach out to you for having a first conversation?
Yeah, so like just to mention one of the examples, like the one we built, the software we built, the mobile application is it's like a kind of a platform that like we are maintenance and inspection workers, like they will use that platform, and it's kind of more of a technical that's based on the client's requirement, and we kind of suggested what should be there technically, and we delivered that. He was happy, and we kind of iterated. He wanted an iteration of that project where additional features were added from the front end and the back end as well. So to answer your question, there are a lot of sectors that you might consider. If it is hospitality sector, there are different hotels and others who could digitalize their plan, like their service. They might be like the European market is ahead, like they might have already done that, but there are people who want to build their, for example, MVPs. So who they might have the idea, but they just stopped executing that idea because it's very expensive in Europe to build an MVP. An MVP that like a project that you may not even implement, cause like if it costs you a lot, you just don't have any other option than to stop it. So what I've been trying to do is like people come to us, and we also reach out to startups and others to help them build their MVPs for a very affordable price compared to the European.
I can admit that is true. It's very affordable. It's just not comparable to the costs we have in Switzerland. And I think that's a really nice use case you mentioned. Thinking about Swiss audience or European audience we might have in the podcast as well, would you mind to share some details going into Ethiopian way of doing business for all those maybe not being that close to Ethiopia yet, or just sharing some insights into Ethiopian life of business?
So businesses, when you create a value for the market, right? So and there is entrepreneurship, being able to find those gaps, those problems in the market or in the society, so that you can solve them and get together with other potential partners who would support you into. I might be good at business development. One of my partner could be good at the technology part, the marketing. When we get together, we could give the best solution. But like, if I'm alone and I think around just okay, I'm good at I know the business idea, I could do this, but if I'm not able to execute that, it's meaningless, right? And if the technical person can build the product, if he cannot get it to like the person who really need it, it's useless. So getting together with people, having the right partners is the right approach. And there is this hype nowadays where everyone call themselves, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO. It's not something that you deserve that, you don't deserve that. Entrepreneurship is not just something you call yourself. Like I know a lot of entrepreneurs. I sometimes feel ashamed to call myself an entrepreneur.
I think you should not. I fully not agree, because I think, especially when it comes to understanding the needs of other businesses and not your industry, you have a really good skill, or you're really skilled in having the understanding, which usually for me, an entrepreneur or generalist has to understand another industry and coming up with a potential solution when it comes to technology to have the right answer. So in my feeling, you should never feel ashamed, not at all.
I totally understand. Like, I'm not saying like I'm always ashamed of it. Like, there are people who like, without building anything, without having anything, they call themselves, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO. This, like, they claim to have they claim to have achieved a lot of things. And when that's their business, like, I'm not here to like to criticize them. Matters. That's what matters. Like, getting things done, being able to find a solution for a certain problem. That's what gets the title of entrepreneur, or like the living, the being able to work with others, being able to give that solution for the society that is willing to pay for. That's how you grow. And as I mentioned earlier, like, my philosophy is, I don't want to always just talk about the problems around. Like, there are a lot of problems around. Not in every market there are problems to solve. So the thing is being able to find, like, think about the solutions and who could help. For example, if I'm thinking about solving a problem in one market, like, I cannot just think about doing it alone. I would have to think of a person who experienced it more than me. Like, because I cannot, for example, you are a Swiss, I'm an Ethiopian. So if I'm not thinking about, if I come up with a problem that's very prevalent in Europe or Switzerland, and if I think about building a solution for that, I might be a fool. How do you think it should be solved? And from that, look, you can involve specialists from the business development part, from the technical part, whoever necessary could be involved. So that's the other important skill, and that's, I would say, where I am, and wherever I go, like, the partnership is the most important thing.
And what you just mentioned, which I think is really crucial, that you have the feeling, and in my point of view, you really make part of the entrepreneurs. And I like to call you an entrepreneur because from my perspective, you really are an entrepreneur. You're able to change the perspective regarding with whom you're talking and in which industry this person is, and to adapt your way of thinking which solution might be the right one. I like to come up with two questions, like one with rather delivering answers for the audience in Ethiopia and the other one for the audience in Switzerland when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. So I'd like to split it. Making business with Ethiopia is completely different from what people are used to doing business with Italy, Germany, France. Could you mention for them, like, if someone is interested getting into Ethiopian market, what one needs to be aware of? What is different? How does Ethiopia work in this context? And then we switch for the Ethiopian audience, and I'd like to get some further insights into entrepreneurship within Ethiopia.
Sure. So there's this perception, like, that when we think about Europe, we have this perception because we haven't experienced it ourselves. And when the Europeans also, like, I assume, like, the Europeans also have this perception of Africa or Ethiopia as well. The ones experienced both, I call them markets, but both countries, like, they have a better understanding of both of them. For example, you have been traveling to different countries, right? So you know, like, what countries, how they operate, the culture and everything. That gives you a good step to understand how this society thinks. And the fact that the European market, the Europeans who the information is very not entirely to the problem of the Europeans, because there is a lack of data. Like, most of the information is not out there about Africa, and the ones out there are through the movies or the documentaries, which most of the time feature our forests, our deserts, and other areas, or maybe historical sites, not like the business landscape, not the industries in Ethiopia. So when we're trying to kind of promote, if it's called promoting, but they will have a better understanding of this market, so that if they want to come explore it, it's a big market. Like,
How many people are currently living in Ethiopia? I think already this fact is really interesting to share.
Yeah, like the UN, I'm not exactly sure if it is the right figure, but the UN 2, 3 days ago announced we are over 135 million people.
Oh my God. Since the first time I had been here, I think it's 30 million plus. That's amazing. And still growing, am I right?
Yes.
It's crazy.
In most of the African countries, there are over a billion in Africa, 1.4 billion if I'm not mistaken. So that's a huge
That's too
market.
many zeros for me. You lose me there.
Yeah, it's a huge market.
It's huge.
It doesn't mean like everybody is going to buy a certain service that was built for Europe, but if you can build a product or a service that's tailored for this market, and most of, I'm not ashamed to say this, but like we are behind in a lot of things, like
Which
being
is
able to.
a potential way of doing business in Ethiopia, because there's still a lot of things to develop and to work on and to come up to do business.
Exactly. Like to give you one more example, like when we started our business in 2021, but like when we started officially operating in Addis Ababa without incorporating it, we were kind of here and there. So we thought we were the first ones trying to solve this problem, and we were trying to research which, like, if this solution was a home service matching platform. It was called Swift Audio, and it was like we used to match repair workers, maintenance workers, and installers with like clients who want them, and they used to give the service in their own premise. So we thought of building a platform to connect them, and we thought like that we were the first one, but we were mistaken. There were different platforms in India, which like it was they gave us a lot of inspirations for ours to like we kind of, the market is kind of close, so like the level of the customers, the understanding, the perception, and it's easier to learn from the east, like the Southeast Asia market than the European market, because if the European market is technology, most of the people are tech savvy. Like they may not all be developers, but they know how to operate a phone. They know how to order a service, how to use their phone. Most of our people didn't know that. Like most of, so now like the technology adoption is much faster now. Like 3 years ago, we didn't trust, like if you want everything was in cash. Like people didn't trust each other to transfer via a bank transfer, like using a mobile or mobile wallet transfer. There are a lot of operators now. We have a lot of banks. All of the banks have their own mobile wallets now. So that says a lot. Like technology adoption is huge, but very huge.
And I think another misconception we still have in Switzerland, that everybody in Ethiopia is poor and kids are dying because they're hungry. Could you share some different perspectives to this fact or not fact?
Yeah. So it's again, this is the information out there. So most of the information out there it was either published in the 90s, late 90s, where like there was a lot of famine. I'm not saying like there isn't famine in some parts of Africa. There are a lot of places where there is famine, civil war, and others. We were even 2-3 years ago, we were in a civil war as well. So I'm not saying everything is a safe haven. I'm not trying to say that. But the point I'm trying to make is the market is huge, and there are a lot of problems to solve, and that's all business is about, right? Like if there is a problem, and if an individual can come up with a solution for that particular problem, that's a huge plus. Like, for example, if I think of a problem, I may think of a solution for that particular problem, but that solution needs to be iterated, needs to be experimented a lot to be like a best fitting solution. When you have a starting point, for example, if I'm coming from Europe, I know what's like how the technology work. I know how, like I always think of Europe and the US. For example, if I think of the financial sector now, okay, this is like, for example, if I think financial technology is called Revolut, So when I think of where they are going and how they are doing things, I know that thing is going to be done in Ethiopia 5-10 years later.
All right, that's interesting to understand.
Kind of a pattern, yeah. So having a first camera advantage, when like when you first experience a service or a product, any kind of platform in other markets, and when you come to a market where they don't have that service, you have a starting point. Like
And
you have
the experience you can already use to get into the new market.
exactly. Like the next thing you should be doing is do like not entirely copy it, but like take most of the features and try to experiment it with the market you are trying to sell it
Local partners who
and
have the
tailor it.
understanding of the local market. I think that's really interesting to share as well, yeah. And maybe one last thing for the rather Swiss or European audience. You have a different way of using the time. Just, I think it's interesting to understand. And if you want to do business, it's really important to understand, because otherwise you're going to have misunderstandings. Would you like to share how Ethiopian time is working?
Oh, well, so like actually our time zone is kind of closer. So like we're on the GMT plus C, which is compared to the Swiss, it's 1 or 2 hours difference.
Yeah, depending summer or winter time in Switzerland, it's 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very close. That means like our working hours are almost in the same range. But like the way we count is different. Like as I mentioned earlier, when I told you about the calendar, we have a lot of things different, and we kind of didn't like maybe to so like we were not colonized, so most of the things were kind of original. So we didn't adopt the Gregorian calendar. We didn't adopt the like how the time was counted. So our time starts when the it's in the morning. So
with the sunrise.
Yeah, with the sunrise, it's 1. So we count 12 is when it's the evening. So like there is a nighttime 1 to 12 and the daytime 1 to 12. So
if I want to have a meeting with you at 9 international time, what would that be in Ethiopia?
9 international time?
Yes, in the morning.
9 in the morning is 3 for us.
I love that fact. And actually, for me, it makes much more sense to start with counting with 1 when the sun.
Yeah, it's just like subtracting or adding 6 hours on that. But the fact that like most of the people now use the Gregorian calendar, and we know our phone, our digital devices operate on the Gregorian calendar, and we're used to that. What I mean is like most of like, for example, for the formal things and the other things, we use that calendar, and like the clock is also like that.
But it's a pretty big challenge, actually, because you always have to stay flexible and thinking in 2 different worlds regarding time and date. But maybe let's close this part, because time will be running out, I know, because you and me, we can always talk for ages.
Yes.
Let's now look maybe at the entrepreneurship part here in Ethiopia, to share some, because I know you have to share a lot of learnings for potential other young students still being in university here in Ethiopia. Share us some insights how this journey started. Maybe you remember special moments where you said like, hey, if I knew that before, I would have done certain things different. Or if you plan to start your own company, then it's really handy to know ABC. What do you think? Can you share some insights?
Sure, yeah. So like as I mentioned earlier, like the main thing that I really value is being disciplined. So discipline is like, it's kind of a cliche, right? It's everywhere. So like,
is there a specific story you can share regarding this?
Yeah. So everything, whether it's institution or organization, is being run by a group of individuals, right? So that means it's a product of individual decisions in the like. It's not entirely individuals' decisions, but like a group of individuals come together to decide to have a common understanding or a common perspective on that issue. So when undisciplined, or like when you like wishful people come up with something, that's usually a destructive one. And when grounded one, a very pragmatic people who also have a visionary in them, like they will most probably come up with a solution that really solves a problem. So
but was that for you an issue? Had you an issue with discipline when you were about getting started, or maybe even before you were getting started with your company, or having business ideas and to implement them in reality? And how did you manage your personal way handling discipline?
Okay, so yes, I didn't know it back then. It was discipline, if it was, but like when I look back, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, like having a structure of doing something. I'm not saying like be inside the box, like thinking outside the box is always a good approach, but being pragmatic about something is a very good approach. Like when you approach something, okay, it should be done this way because like there has to be a because after everything. So the market, I'm in business, like we are focused on, our discussion is focused on business. So if the market's not willing to pay for that, so am I going to force them? I know, and they're not going to be forced. So what's the other approach? So giving them what they want. And the funny thing is the market also changed. So being able like to change according to the market, because like if you are not going to change, the market will gain another player who is fit for like that need. So getting back to the discipline part, so I used to think my solution was the best one. Like it was, so I don't have to iterate it anymore. So this is the best solution. It has to be. And I learned it the hard way that I had to do a lot of things, starting from the marketing, promoting the branding and everything. Like it's kind of we did a rebranding, which worked well. So that like that part of disciplining myself to learn from the market, to really observe what the market needs helped me a lot. So that's from the business point of view. And from the personal point of view, there are a lot of people who just I was mentioning earlier. So they want the hype, not just doing the work. So if you are not doing the work, nothing is going to come out of it. If something is going to come out, it's by doing the work or collaborating with people who can do the work, not just by hyping.
And maybe there you can share some more details. How did you start? How did you select, or how your business partner selected you? On which details you were looking, finding the right people working together to get the company started? What could you share with other students here in Ethiopia?
Sure. So the first thing like I always look for is the energy. Like the energy has too much always. Like for example, when I talk about my friend, my partner as well. So we knew each other. We knew what we wanted, where we wanted to go. So that was a good start for us. So he knew like what I'm capable of. I know what he was capable of. So it was not just blaming each other when something fails. So I know I'm always willing to do. If I have to do 99% of the work, and if he has to do 1% of the work, we don't complain. I'm doing the 99, so I should get. That was not how our approach was started. So we both had something to deliver, something important. Like if I had to learn I have to do what he was doing back then, I wouldn't be here. So if he was also trying to do what I'm doing alone, it would have been very hard. So the way we were complementing each other helped us like come further. And after that, like when we add other team members, we had to be very like selective in terms of what their background is, not just educational, just like the experience they had in terms of their work experience and others. So when they when a bad employee or a bad partner comes in, they destroy what's working. So we didn't want that. Like we always most of our partners now, like we have a partner, a product called Leak, our flagship product. We like our other partner is called Nardos. So she has a strong background and she grew from us. She was with us. So we also had other products as well. So we also have other products in the funnel. So most of the products are either initiated by our team members, or like most of them are we were working together. So some of them as an employee, now they're going to be partners as well. So we like that approach where you grow out of that thinking of we can make this happen.
All right, yeah. So let's assume now I'm a student in Ethiopia. I have a really nice business plan idea ready. I did a lot of market research and I have a complementary business partner. What's going to be the next step? What should I do to get things running? What's the best way? What I should not forget at this stage?
Yeah, the main thing, even maybe before even looking for a partner, is going to the market. Having a partner when you go to the market is a good thing because, like,
but let's assume I did all of that. Market research is done. I have the product and I have my business partner. But now, how do I get started? If I'm a student and I don't know, like, what's the right way to register? Do I need to register? Is there something you could share with students having their business idea ready for the market?
Yeah, so like if the business idea is like in the kind of validated, if your MVP is working, like if it's whether it's a product or service, validating is one of the best approach. You know, like without validating, getting incorporated, it's very easy to get a business license in Ethiopia, but it's very hard to close it. So like mentioning that, so they have to know that once they get into the market, like they should have a kind of a clear, or they should be flexible enough to the market, to the market change as well, to to kind of float in the market, like not to sink in the market change. So but before that, having the MVP correct in the market, when the product or service market fit is validated, now then they can go to the government body, the industry is called, like they can get incorporated. So I'll suggest them to get a PLC. It's a private limited company, so that's a good structure. We most of the Ethiopia, we have kind of three structures. So there is a share company, which is a big one. There is a PLC, which is kind of a middle one, a PLC or private limited company, and there is a SOL. So SOL is everywhere. Most of the Ethiopian business operate in SOL, but it's very hard, especially when it comes to liability and others. When kind of when you are bankrupt and others, is managing liability, being liable is very hard when you are in SOL. If you register a loss, the government or like the Minister of Revenue might come to your personal belongings too. When it comes to a PLC and share companies, they are both good if you are planning on going public in very near public, like to sell shares and stocks in the market. The share companies a good way to go. But if you are focusing on like in the long run, you might want an IPO. By the way, we recently launched a stock market, so like now companies can go public as well. So like can sell their shares. But like if like the best approach is to start from a PLC. Yeah, because that's where to start from, and that gives you less liability. Because like if you the liability stop, for example, if you experience loss, the company belongings might be taken, like for the Minister of Revenue. After that, they're not going to come to your personal belongings, and unless like it's proven by the court that you did this loss in
Mismanagement.
yeah, so intentional mismanagement. And also when most of the business need investment, right? Expansion and growth.
So
For that to
definitely,
happen,
maybe just to, because we're running out of time, one of the last questions for students here in Ethiopia. I know investing or getting investors for your business idea can be a huge challenge, especially because of the currency as well. So what hint or what experience can you share in this way, in regarding searching for investors? What would you like to share with students?
that's a good question. It's very hard to be invested, especially when it's in idea stage. Even when like most of the investors in the market now want a very tangible one, a very scalable. Like you have to get past a lot of customer acquired kind of. So because like there are other businesses that get them more ROI, like in the more return on investment, their investments. Unless they are really interested in, like they are angel investors, or most of them are not, but like unless they are really feel responsible about the use, the technology and other stuff, they're not willing to invest in you. So the right approach is, as I mentioned earlier, if they got their like license, their business incorporated using a PLC, that means like for future change in like organizational structure, it's open. That means you can invite an investor, partners, investors in exchange for an equity. You just have to get that registered in the documentation and authentication agency. So if they so the approach I would suggest is to start from what they have. It might seem a simple thing to say, but it's not going to be that easy. Having like being able to start from what you have and there's a market for everything. It's about having the right approach to that market. So people might, if it's a service, maybe they might give you, you're not going to expect 1 million subscribers in one day, right? So start, if it is a service, try to provide that service to 1, 2, 3 people as a service provider, not as a company or like that. So it's just like most of the failure starts from us thinking, now we are a company, we have to think at this level. Like things didn't work like that. Everything has to grow from something is what the seed.
So to break down your idea and to rather start small and build up and grow step by step.
Exactly. That's what like if they are going to be invested, like investable ideas come from the seed. So they have to grow out of the seed, be a seedling, and grow into like having some traction to attract an investor. An investor is not a fool, right? They're not going to invest in something someone else's idea where like their money is burned. But like when the guy who or the lady who kind of claim to have created this idea, when they understand it is not working, they will leave. Like they are not going to have that much of a loss, but the investor is going to lose a lot. So investors are very smart. They know what to choose. So having the right product or service fit for the market with a good traction is what attracts investors.
All right.
There are others, like just to mention additional, they don't always have to start from what they have, because like not everybody has something to start with. So they could also explore different opportunities. There are incubation hubs, accelerator hubs who could support with training, sometimes with seed funding, which would be very helpful to experiment in the early stage. And I know a lot of people who take advantage of that.
All right, thanks for sharing. So let's come to a last question, and I like to end usually with the question, which advice would you give to your younger self?
My younger self. It's a good question, but a pretty hard one.
I love it. I know it's a hard one.
It made me keep thinking, you know. I have a lot of advices, but if it was one,
We have to keep it short.
yeah, like if it was one, like that's what I'm trying to think of. So yeah, maybe, yeah, observe it, right? Yeah, like I would have given myself like an advice to see things in a more different way and be more disciplined, because like the discipline is like a journey, right? I might call myself a discipline and might laugh on myself after 10 years that I'm not disciplined, but like if I were to give my 15 or 20 years old me an advice, I would say be more disciplined. Yeah.
All right. I think that's a strong closing. So we're to the end of the podcast, and we end with my official last question, which is, as I'm going to continue to invite guests, which topic would you like to have within my podcast, or which guest, which person would you like to have on your seat for a next episode?
So maybe not on a person point of view, like because like there are a lot of person that I could mention. Some of them might be for Ethiopian, some of them might be like from abroad, but my question could be like education, like someone in education, someone working in the service sector is a group, because like how like where we are, like the development, like the technology and everything always stems from education. So having someone who's from the education sector would be a good.
All right. I like this wish, because I had the same in mind already, because I had really interesting conversations with people working in education. And thanks for challenging me with this wish, and I'll try to make it possible to have a guest here, in addition English speaking, that you can profit of the guest as well. Thanks for having you here, Daniel. Thanks to the audience listening to us, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much.